Heartland fans, get ready. What a ride season 18 has been. The finale just dropped, and it was nothing short of a whirlwind. Emotions ran high, secrets were revealed, and bonds were tested like never before. In this special episode recap, we're diving deep into every twist, every tear, and every heartwarming moment that brought this powerful season to a close. Lou's accident and the family's response. After Lou's terrifying accident left her future uncertain, the Fleming Bartlett family did what they do best, came together in strength and love. Meanwhile, Amy faced a challenge of her own healing, not just Lou's horse Stetson, but also the emotional wounds that threatened to undo them both. And that was just the beginning. Turning points at the open house. The ranch's annual open house became a turning point for nearly everyone. Amy and Nathan finally confronted the feelings they'd been dancing around all season. Caleb made peace with the past. Tim dropped a bombshell no one saw coming. And Katie found the clarity and courage she didn't even know she was looking for. This episode wasn't just a season finale, it was a deep emotional reckoning. So if you're ready to relive the drama, the hope, and the heart of Heartland, stick around. This is your full breakdown of Heartland Season 18, Episode 10. Lou's recovery. The aftermath of the accident. The episode picked up right where the last one ended, with Caleb sprinting to fetch the ambulance while Amy desperately tried to wake Lou. We also saw Lisa, Jessica, and Katie rush to Lou's side, while Tim and Jack returned home puzzled by the family's absence at the ranch. Though Lou was unconscious, her pulse remained strong, giving everyone hope. After Caleb showed them the way, the ambulance arrived quickly and took Lou to the hospital, with Amy by her side, while the rest of the family anxiously awaited updates. Fortunately, the show didn't keep us in suspense for long. The next shot after the opening credits was Lou waking up in the hospital, with Peter and Katie by her side. Lou's leg was broken, and she had sustained a head injury that resulted in some brain swelling. She had to stay in the hospital for a while for observation, but her loved ones were right there with her. Healing and reflection. Deeply affected by Lou's accident, Katie told her mom that she didn't want to fight anymore, a sentiment that gave Lou much-needed comfort and brought the mother and daughter closer together. As the dust settled, a powerful moment unfolded at the hospital. Amy, Jack, and Tim came to visit Lou, each carrying their own quiet anxieties and hopes for her recovery. The family, often held together by unspoken bonds, finally voiced the things that mattered most. Lou opened up with rare vulnerability. She shared how terrifying it had been to lie alone in the dirt, unsure if help would arrive, completely at the mercy of fate. That harrowing experience cracked something open inside her. With tears in her eyes, Lou confessed that as she waited, her body broken and her spirit clinging on, her mind wasn't filled with anger, rivalry, or the tangled feud with Nathan Price. No, it was filled with the faces of those she loved. She thought of Amy, Katie, Georgie, Peter, her father, and her grandfather. That moment shifted her entire perspective. She realized how much time had been wasted on grudges and pride. In a deeply emotional moment, Lou admitted to Jack and Tim that she had pushed the conflict with Nathan too far, and maybe, just maybe, it was time to let go of the past. She promised to hear them out, whatever ideas they had to rebuild those broken bridges. A sisterly reconciliation. But the most touching moment came when Lou turned to Amy with sincere remorse. She apologized for putting her in the impossible position of choosing between loyalty to family and the possibility of a future with Nathan. Amy, steady and compassionate as ever, reassured her big sister the choice had always been hers to make. In that moment, years of tension, competition, and buried hurt melted away. The two sisters embraced in a reconciliation that reminded viewers why their bond has always been at the heart of Heartland. Moving forward. As Lou's recovery progressed, she spoke to Georgie over the phone to reassure her there was no need to fly back just yet. Everything was under control, and she was going to be just fine. Then Peter arrived with the news they had all been waiting for. Lou's MRI results were clear. No permanent damage, no complications, just strict orders to rest, recover, and take it easy. But this is Lou Fleming we're talking about. Before the ink was dry on her discharge papers, she was already brainstorming. And by the time she returned to the ranch, she had a plan. Heartland was going to host its annual open house, injured leg or not. For Lou, this wasn't just about tradition. It was about sending a message that the ranch still stood for hope, for healing, for community. Though Jack, Tim, and Amy had their doubts about diving into something so big so soon, Lou's passion was undeniable. Her determination was infectious, and slowly, one by one, they came on board. What followed was a beautiful example of what makes Heartland so special: family coming together with a shared purpose. They began planning the open house, not just as an event, but as a statement, a celebration of resilience, recovery, and the power of second chances. Amy's gesture at the open house. Amy knew a different approach was needed. During the open house event, she surprised Lo by using Stetson in her demonstration. She began by telling the audience about Lou's accident and how the once strong bond between horse and rider had been broken when Lou had to send Stetson away to get help. Then, Amy asked her sister to try bonding with her horse again. Lou was understandably reluctant. But after some encouragement from Amy, who reminded her she wasn't alone anymore, Lou agreed. With Amy's guidance, she faced her fears and began working with Stetson, gradually rebuilding their connection. When it was time for the join-up, Stetson walked to Lo. The crowd erupted in cheers as their bond was renewed. Caleb's confession. One of the most emotional storylines of the episode was the conclusion of Amy and Caleb's arc, as they found clarity in their relationship. The episode opened with Caleb stepping up first by getting the ambulance to Lou as fast as possible, and then by helping Amy with Lindy's octopus costume for her play. But he didn't stay long. Caleb told Amy he had to return to Cochrane because he had Carson for the next few days. Amy, of course, understood. After all, she had just told him how much she missed him now that he wasn't passing through Hudson as often. The day of the open house brought not only celebration, but also unexpected revelations, and one of the most heartfelt came from Caleb. As visitors trickled in and the ranch buzzed with excitement, Caleb returned not just to support the event, but to unburden his heart. With a serious expression and weight in his voice, he pulled Amy aside for a quiet, long-overdue conversation. He confessed something he'd kept hidden for too long. The reason for his sudden change in rodeo routes earlier in the season had nothing to do with logistics or scheduling. It had been a deliberate emotional retreat. Caleb admitted he had lied, creating distance between himself and Amy, hoping that space would help him untangle the confusing web of feelings he had been struggling with. He didn't want to get in the way of Amy's journey, nor did he want to risk a mistake rooted in nostalgia or unresolved emotion. But that time apart had brought clarity. Caleb realized that while Amy would always be important to him, he needed to let go of the past to move forward. Then, with a hesitant smile, he revealed he had recently reconnected with someone from a long, closed chapter, someone who still understood his heart without him saying a word. Amy was stunned, unsure where the conversation was heading, until she saw the flicker of familiarity in his eyes. Caleb told her that person was Ashley Stanton, his ex-wife. The one who once broke his heart, but also shared some of the most defining moments of his life. He wasn't sure where things would go, but something about it just felt right. Ashley's return. Later that day, Heartland fans were treated to one of the episode's sweetest surprises. Ashley herself arrived at the open house. There was no drama, no tension, just an authentic, quiet reconnection between two people who had weathered the storm and somehow found their way back. As the music started, Ashley and Caleb shared a slow dance under the golden Hudson sunset, talking, laughing, as if no time had passed. It was clear this wasn't just nostalgia. It was something real, a new beginning rooted in mutual respect and shared history. Before taking Ashley on a romantic sunset flight, their unofficial first date, Caleb paused to thank Amy once more. In a beautiful, full-circle moment, Amy reassured him he wasn't crazy for following his heart. Their exchange was a touching nod to how far they both come and how deeply they still cared as friends and as chosen family. Amy and Nathan's reunion. But if we're talking about heartfelt reunions, we have to dive into the emotional centerpiece of this episode, the long-awaited reconnection between Amy and Nathan. Their relationship had danced on the edge of uncertainty for much of the season, hesitant, complicated, quietly charged with emotion. Everything changed in this episode. It started simply. After being stranded while working with Stetson, Amy found herself walking home. That's when Nathan happened upon her by chance and offered a ride after hearing about Lou's accident. What began as a routine moment quickly became something more, a quiet reminder of how naturally their paths continued to cross and how deeply they still understood one another. Nathan's vulnerability surfaced not long after. Following a heartfelt fishing trip conversation with Jack and Tim, he made the tough decision to move his aging father into an assisted living facility. Knowing how calming Amy had always been to Nathan Sr., he asked for her help with the transition. Without hesitation, Amy agreed, and once again, her presence made all the difference. Though initially confused and resistant, Nathan Sr. grew more at ease with Amy nearby, even mistaking her for her late wife, Marion. Amy played along gently, her heart full of compassion. When Nathan Sr. refused to eat lunch in the facility cafeteria, it was Amy who changed his mind and joined him for a quiet, meaningful meal that grounded the experience in something human and hopeful. Still, Nathan declined Amy's invitation to the open house, explaining that he needed to stay with his father. Amy understood, or at least she thought she did. But later that evening, while playing a board game with his dad, Nathan received a simple text from Amy, a thank you for arranging the band. When he smiled at the message, Nathan Sr. noticed and couldn't help but pry. "Is she the first person you think about in the morning and the last at night?" he asked, blunt but sincere. Nathan hesitated, but the answer was yes. That was all his father needed to hear. "Then, there's nothing complicated about it," he said. That brief but powerful conversation changed everything. Nathan showed up at the open house after all. Just as the event was winding down, Amy found herself standing alone by the lake, watching couples drift away: Caleb and Ashley, Lou and Peter, even Jack and Lisa. She felt the weight of solitude pressing on her, the sting of unresolved feelings quietly surfacing. And then, she wasn't alone. Nathan approached hesitant at first, but driven by something real. He told her plainly, emotionally, that staying away was no longer an option. He loved her. Amy, eyes wide with both surprise and relief, set it back. Their kiss was tender, quiet, and filled with the kind of emotion that only builds over time. It was more than just a romantic moment. It was the culmination of trust, of healing, and of two people finally allowing themselves to want something more. Still, the moment wasn't wrapped in a perfect bow. After the kiss, Amy looked at Nathan and asked, "What are we going to do about this?" It was a question layered with meaning because their love, while real, was unfolding in a complicated world of family, grief, and responsibility. So, while this episode gave us the connection we've been hoping for, it also left the door open for more growth, more challenges, and more moments of truth. A new rival. As the show moves toward another season, balancing family loyalty with love for Amy will become especially important for Nathan because this episode introduced a new complication for Price Beef, for Heartland, and therefore for Nathan's relationship with Amy. We saw a new player enter the fold, the arrival of Nathan's estranged older sister, Gracie. Gracie's reappearance was both unexpected and unwelcome, coming just as Nathan was settling their father into assisted living. She arrived with an air of authority that signaled her intent to shake up the status quo. As a new co-owner of Price Beef, courtesy of their father's power of attorney, Gracie wasted no time asserting her influence. It was clear she intended to have an equal say in all major business decisions, decisions Nathan had been making largely on his own until now. Her first concern? Nathan's dealings with Heartland. Gracie didn't share his cooperative vision for working with Heartland Beef. To her, it looked like making a deal with the competition. She also accused Nathan of being sweet on Amy. Gracie's disdain for collaboration was palpable. She made it clear she intended to protect Price Beef's interests by burying Heartland. Her determination to assert control even led her to make an appearance at Heartland's open house, introducing herself to Lou. Gracie's arrival and a brewing conflict. Disguised as just another interested attendee, Gracie showed up at the open house. Lou, unaware of Gracie's identity, was cordial, but something about Gracie's demeanor hinted at deeper intentions. It seemed Lou sensed she was up to something. Gracie left with a promise to stick around. Her arrival set the stage for future complications and clearly signaled that the tensions between Price Beef and Heartland Beef were far from over. Tim's crossroads. For a while now, Tim has been grappling with a major decision, whether to pursue a high-profile rodeo announcing job that would take him away from home for long stretches, or remain grounded at Heartland, close to his family. This episode was no different. Though he had already accepted the job, Tim postponed the start date to prioritize Lou's recovery after her accident. But that delay only gave him more time to reflect on the enormity of the choice ahead. When he received his schedule, the reality set in the job was more demanding than he had anticipated, requiring weeks away from home. Jessica, ever supportive, encouraged him to follow his dream, assuring him that they would make it work if the job truly made him happy. But Tim wasn't so sure. He confessed to having cold feet, uncertain about the big changes that would come with this new path. Then, he received an ultrasound photo from Shane, a joyful revelation that Shane and Chloe were expecting Tim's first grandson. The news struck a deep emotional chord, prompting Tim to reflect on what truly mattered to him. At the open house, Jack presented Tim with a bolo tie featuring the Heartland symbol, a heartfelt gesture of pride and congratulations. Tim, in return, shared a surprising decision. He revealed to Jack that he had chosen to turn down the rodeo gig. Instead, he would stay close to home, prioritizing his time with family and embracing his role as a father and grandfather, especially with so many entering new stages in life. Later that evening, while dancing with Jessica, he asked if she thought he'd made a mistake. She reassured him that he had made a tough choice in a tough moment, and reminded him that if he ever changed his mind, that would be a decision for another day. Right now, they should simply enjoy being surrounded by the people they love. Katie's turning point. For the final storyline of the episode, the focus turned to Katie, who, after weeks of feeling out of place at Heartland and contemplating a fresh start in Vancouver, finally found clarity about her future. Still recovering in the hospital, she received a letter from the Vancouver Fine Arts School in acceptance. It should have been a moment of joy, but instead, it left her conflicted. While she had once dreamed of moving to Vancouver to pursue her passion for writing, recent events had made her question whether she was truly ready to leave. Interestingly, her growing bond with Dodger the horse Amy and Caleb rescued became central to her decision. Early in the episode, while caring for Dodger, Katie reflected on her recent mistakes, admitting she felt lost and had hurt people she loved, especially Lou. Throughout the episode, her connection with the horse deepened. She found comfort in simply being present with him. So when Amy told her that Dodger wouldn't be staying at Heartland, that he needed a new home where he'd be showered with attention after months locked in a shed, Katie was visibly upset. That conversation helped Katie come to terms with something within herself. At the open house, she finally had a heartfelt conversation with her parents about her future. She started by asking if she could keep Dodger and then revealed that she had decided not to move to Vancouver. The news surprised both Peter and Lou. Katie explained that she had wanted to leave because she felt like she didn't fit in at Heartland. Pretending to be older had felt empowering at first, but ultimately left her feeling hollow. What she truly needed, she realized, was time. Time to just be a kid and discover who she was without the pressure of having to define herself too soon. By the end of the episode, Katie was at peace with her decision, solidifying her place within the Heartland family, while still leaving space for her dreams to evolve. Peter and Lou supported her wholeheartedly. A beautiful blend of endings and new beginnings. This episode felt like a beautiful blend of closure and fresh beginnings, wrapping up long, simmering storylines with grace while quietly opening the door to whatever might come next. If CBC gives us another season, it seems the Heartland world, with its love, family, and ever-deepening roots, still has more stories to tell. The gift of a new season. There's no doubt that these evolving relationships and life-changing moments will continue to blossom. The open house wasn't just a backdrop for drama, it was a symbol, a celebration of healing, family, community, and love. It reminded us that no matter what challenges the Heartland family faces, they always find their way back to each other. And that's what makes this show so special. From Lou's powerful recovery, to Tim's heartfelt decision, to Caleb finding peace, Katie discovering her path, and Amy and Nathan finally opening their hearts, it was an episode filled with everything we love about Heartland. But now, I want to hear from you. Did you see Lou's accident changing her perspective like that? Were you surprised by Tim and Katie choosing to stay? How do you feel about the new chapter for Amy and Nathan? And did Caleb and Ashley's reunion catch you off guard in the best way? And yes, how amazing was it to see Cindy Busby return as Ashley Stanton? That moment was pure nostalgia. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love reading them, and your insights make these recaps even more rewarding. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me for this deep dive into Heartland Season 18. Whether you've been with me since episode 1 or just joined for the finale, I appreciate you more than you know. Your support means the world and is what keeps this little community going. Until next time, take care, stay kind, and keep holding on to what matters most. We'll be back with more Heartland content soon, especially if Season 19 becomes a reality. Thanks for listening.